Hey, welcome to Q&A, where you ask your questions on faith and life, and I do my best to give a biblical perspective. Today's question takes me back to why we do Q&A as a church, because we're committed to this idea that we do best when we do life together, when we grow together, when we encourage and build each other up and share our perspectives, so that together we go from strength to strength. And today's question I think most of us, if we're parents or have been parents, we can relate to. Let me read it and then you'll understand what I mean. As a parent, how do I prioritize church stuff and home life, specifically activities that my kids enjoy being part of, as sports, such as sports and music lessons? And if you're a parent, you've been there, you want your kid to be at church, you want them to be at youth group, but they've got sport on, and do I have to? And how do you navigate that as a parent? Well, I don't think we should get legalistic about it, because I think that just drives a wedge further and further, and you'll get compliance, but you won't catch the heart. And what I hear is, how do I get my children to engage with their faith so that they prioritize faith over other things? And that's really the goal, because when they can stand up for themselves and make their own decisions, you want them to walk in the faith you've been modeling and setting before them. So you need to begin now by setting in place some things that are going to help them navigate through that. And I think part of it is that the tension exists because most of us compartmentalize our lives. Sunday's church, this time's connect group, this time's this time is work, this time, and we compartmentalize our lives to the point that when I'm doing church, I'm doing church, and when I'm at work, I'm at work, and we don't really bring everything together. And our kids come into that school versus church, sports versus church. And so I think the key to reducing that tension and helping them grow up to prioritize the things of God over other things when a choice has to be made is right from the beginning to remove that distinction, that compartmentalization, and start talking openly and continually about how does life play out as a Christian for you? What does it look like for you as a family? Where are the boundaries for you as a family? So, for example, in context of sports, I'd be very clear. I'd be having conversations. What is it about the sport you enjoy? What is it about music you enjoy? And I'd be linking that back to faith. I would be having those conversations. That is so cool. I don't know whether you, depending upon the age of your child, I don't know whether you realize this or not, but what you're talking about is you are discovering how God has made you. You're discovering something about yourself that God put in you, the ability to play well, the ability to express yourself in music. And I'd link that back to faith. You're playing the piano, but what you're doing is you're learning to express something in your heart. That's called worship. God has called you to worship. On the sports field, you're good at it because God wired you that way. It's an expression of Him. He's given you mental and physical abilities, robustness, because that's a reflection of how He wants you to live life. And so I'd be integrating it so that the tension's reduced, because the tension exists because they perceive going to church and attending youth group, for example, as having less value than playing sport, doing music. And so you've got to increase the value factor, the perceived value factor, so to speak. And you do it not by upping the program at church and all that, and finding a church which does better, rah, but helping them integrate faith into every sphere of life. I'm good at sport because that's how God made me. I'm good at music because that's how God made me. So that the tension has shifted. It's not like choosing music over, but, oh no, I've got to prioritize my church, my spiritual life, in order to really excel in these other areas of my life, because they're an overflow. I'm good at sport because God made me, so I've got to nurture my relationship with God so that develops. I'm good at music because, and on it goes. So that means if you want to reduce the tension, it's about prioritizing faith in ways that make sense. It's not just having prioritizing faith means not just having a Bible reading and a prayer before the kids go to bed, or just saying grace, but integrating it throughout the day. Our kids would come home from school, for example, and their pattern was to come and sit in my office. We'd talk about the day, and they'd tell me the ups and downs, and we'd pray. I'm really struggling with something. Well, why don't we just pray about that now? Or, hey, I did really well at school. Hey, let's just pray. And I'd pray, and it became normative. Not feeling well, we'd just continually pray. We'd in a conversation, we'd pray for one another. And it was a normative part so that it broke down the barriers. When I'm at church, around church stuff, other times, at certain times of the day, I do the God stuff. The rest, I'm free to live my life my way. We broke it down so that it was normative. I'd come home, or Anne would come home, we'd be talking about what's going on, and we'd just say, let's just pray about this right now, so that it became part and parcel. And I think as you integrate faith, what you're doing, that you're helping your children understand that everything we do is an expression of our relationship with God. So it breaks down that compartmentalization. And I think if you can do that, you're on the way to overcoming that tension. Having said that, I was talking to someone recently, and they made an interesting, and I thought a really helpful observation in regards to this very topic, with regards to one of their children who started off young, getting involved in a particular sport, continued on, was dedicated, was did the hard yards and got better and better, and their enjoyment began to take on a whole new dimension. And as they got serious about it, sometimes they win, sometimes they lose, and they saw it as an opportunity to help integrate this into their faith and their sport together by talking about character. So long story short, it got to the point where when their child lost, they could still celebrate. Hey, I may not have won, but I still gave a good account, and God's happy with me. But also, I can be happy for those who won. Likewise, when I win, I'm not arrogant. I'm not lording over others. I celebrate. I deserve this. I did well, but I also can celebrate those around me as well, so that they could enjoy the sport, but they could enjoy it in a way that others perhaps didn't, because it wasn't about winning and losing so much. It was about expressing their faith and how God had wired them and everything else. And I think we should be able to do that. If we can help our children do that, again, we've reduced the tension. So you got to make boundaries for yourself as a family, determine where those are, when things are not negotiable, like church and youth group, just the same as you won't schedule things when they have music practice or sports, because that's important to them. So that you're not going to say, no, you can't do that, because equally they can't say, no, I'm not going to do that because. So you've got to find where that is. And celebrate it. You get talk to your friends. How do they navigate it? But remember, ultimately, you're not raising children. You're raising adults. And as adults, we would have a conversation around, how do I live out of my faith wherever I find ourselves? We wouldn't talk about how do I, as adults, how can I prioritize church over sport? So change the narrative. How do I help my children integrate faith into every area of their life? And if you start that, then when they're adults, that's what they'll be doing. And it will set them on the path for a success in life from God's perspective. Hey, if you're a parent, you've got an idea on this, so why not post your thoughts below? Love to hear your comments, but that's it for now. As always, you can post your questions on faithandlifeslido.com. Use the hashtag ALC23. Love to hear from you. Until next time, God bless.